Hi everyone, and welcome back to the final day of National Careers Week. So today we are doing a bit of a careers roundup, kind of focusing on some more general careers advice and support. So this podcast is kind of be myself and Danielle talking about all things apprenticeships. So we're going to kind of discuss exactly what apprenticeships are, kind of entry requirements, hours that you might work, and then kind of how to apply and things like that. So if we start off fairly broadly then, so with what an apprenticeship actually is. So it's important to kind of note that an apprenticeship is a real job. So you, kind of as an apprentice, you will be employed from day one. And that isn't really any different to anybody who's kind of employed as a full-time employee for that company. So apprenticeships combine kind of practical training that you will get from the job kind of in the workplace with an element of study which you would complete kind of at college. So as an apprentice, you will do things like gain job specific skills. So obviously you're going to be in the workplace, you're going to be learning from industry experts, and then you will gain those skills that you can kind of go into the workplace feeling really, really confident with. You'll work alongside those experienced staff. So obviously if you're kind of working in the workplace, you're going to be working in an environment with people who have been there for a number of years, people who are really experienced in what they do, and people who really enjoy what they do. So you're going to be able to learn kind of directly from them. You will also earn a wage and get holiday pay, which is kind of a really significant thing, I think, especially for somebody who's maybe come out of year 11, if you're kind of getting an apprenticeship at that point in your life. It's really nice when you start earning a wage and kind of being entitled to holiday pay and things like that. Again, that all kind of comes along with being employed, and that's really important to remember. And kind of lastly, you will also obviously be given the time to study related to your role. So it is an apprenticeship. You will gain a nationally recognised qualification. And obviously a big element of that will be studying for that qualification. So you will be given the time for that. And that is usually the equivalent of kind of one day a week. So that is kind of in short what an apprenticeship is. So now we've got that out of the way, Danielle's going to talk a little bit about kind of what levels of apprenticeship there are.
Yeah, so in terms of your apprenticeship, like Jess mentioned, you've got kind of two different parts. So you've got the on the job and sort of off the job training. Both of those elements do kind of lead to industry recognised standards or qualifications. So there are sort of four different levels that you can kind of access your apprenticeship at. And that obviously determines the qualification that you would come out with at the end of it. So to keep it kind of pretty simple, the first level that you might be able to start at is like intermediate, and that's kind of your level 2 apprenticeship. With that, it's equivalent to sort of 5 GCSE passes, so sort of grade 4 and 9 at GCSE. With that, it's kind of the same, workload as what you probably used to in kind of year 11. As I say, it's equivalent to kind of 5 GCSEs. Level 3 then is an advanced apprenticeship, and that's equivalent to kind of 2 A levels, so your passes or a level 3 diploma. So again, it's a little bit of a step up with your level 3. From there, then some students do decide to kind of progress on, or you might come into your apprenticeship at sort of the higher level apprenticeship, and that's kind of levels 4, 5, 6, and 7, and that's equivalent to your foundation degree. You might know a little bit about foundation degrees already. It's kind of 1 year study that you might decide to do before sort of your bachelor's degree. And then obviously from there, you've got your degree level apprenticeship, and that, as I say, is a full sort of bachelor's or even master's degree. So for the majority of students, if you're in year 11 at the minute and you're considering doing an apprenticeship next, it might be that you're looking to start at level 2 or level 3, but it's good to just kind of know that you can progress onto those higher level apprenticeships after either college or an apprenticeship sort of post 18.
Fab. So next we're going to kind of have a think about earnings then. So as I mentioned, obviously getting paid and getting that kind of a holiday leave and things like that, they're all part of being employed. And that is what is really fab about apprenticeships. So in terms of earnings then and kind of working hours, so for apprentices, the national minimum wage was £3.90 from April 2019. And this has actually gone up to £4.15 for apprentices. And that applies to kind of apprentices who are 16 to 18 as well, and who are in their first year of their apprenticeship. So those are kind of earnings that you could expect to get paid per hour as an apprentice. And in terms of the hours that you would actually be working, the minimum duration of each apprenticeship is based on the apprentice working about 30 hours a week, and that includes any kind of off-the-job training. So that doesn't kind of apply in every circumstance. Obviously, there will be kind of exceptions and things like that, and it will be kind of down to the training provider ultimately how the apprenticeship is going to work. But that is kind of how it is usually set out. I think it's also important to note, obviously, as I just mentioned, with that wage again is subject to the training provider. So there is the national minimum wage for apprentices, which I've just mentioned, but it is kind of often that apprenticeship providers will actually offer a little bit more than the national minimum wage. So it's definitely worth having a look at that and seeing if you are kind of able to get paid that a little bit more. It will obviously all be down to the employer.
Brilliant, yeah. And then thinking sort of from there then, kind of your entry requirements to get onto an apprenticeship. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but you can sort of get onto an apprenticeship from any age from sort of 16. So like I say, if you're in year 11 at the minute and you're considering doing that next, you certainly can do. Or if you decide to come back to it kind of later down the line, that's also an option as well. There's no kind of upper age limit on an apprenticeship. So some kind of adults might be working in careers for years, and they've now decided that they want to kind of go on and do maybe an apprenticeship from scratch, or maybe it's a higher level apprenticeship, and that's certainly an option, like I say, a little bit sort of later down the line. But your minimum age is kind of 16. In terms of the entry requirements then, kind of grade wise, they do vary from role to role, and it can depend on what industry you're working in, sort of the apprentice role, but also the level that you're going to go in at as well. The best thing to do is when you're sort of finding your apprenticeship, so we'll give you plenty of websites and a bit of direction about where you can find them, but once you're having a look at the apprenticeships on offer, you'll be able to see they sort of clearly state the entry requirements on there. As I say, it can change between different companies and different industries as well. So it's worth when you're having a little look around, just bear in mind the entry requirements when you're looking to apply for them, because they can slightly differ.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's always kind of an important part of looking for any sort of job or apprenticeship or course at a college or university or wherever that might be. It's always really important to kind of check entry requirements and things like that, because they will be different from training provider to training provider. So just make sure you're kind of having a look at them and you know exactly what you're applying for. So if we kind of move on then, obviously we've spoken a lot about kind of the technicalities of doing an apprenticeship and what is involved and things like that. But kind of what then is the real sell? Why apply for an apprenticeship? Obviously, as we've mentioned, kind of the earning a real wage is such a big kind of part of apprenticeships, and it's a lot of why people want to do them. Obviously, you're essentially getting paid to gain a qualification, which is fantastic, and you're kind of earning that real wage within the work environment. So you're gaining those skills and kind of getting the training in those skills that employers are looking for. And you're also kind of being trained up by the employers themselves. So who is kind of better placed to tell you exactly what employers want than them themselves? So I think that's really fantastic too. That's another kind of real big bonus of apprenticeships. Also, with kind of apprenticeships, you are setting yourself up for the future. So apprentices kind of will see salary increases as they complete their training. So obviously you've got that kind of national minimum wage or whatever that wage might be for that kind of initial training year. But once you've completed that, you will then see quite a clear salary increase, which is again a huge benefit of doing that apprenticeship. Obviously, if you think at the beginning you are in training, once you've finished that qualification, then you are somebody who is qualified to do the job, and that will then come with it a pay increase, which is fantastic. Also, there are kind of some nice statistics as well. So it is estimated that those completing a higher apprenticeship could actually see increased earnings of around £150,000 over their lifetime, which is huge. So again, that's just kind of another reason that doing an apprenticeship will kind of set you up for the future.
Brilliant. And then if all of that is kind of something that's interesting you and you're still thinking about an apprenticeship and it kind of sounds right for you, then where you can sort of look for those apprenticeships, the best place to look is online. There's so many different resources that are out at the minute. I would personally recommend going on the government website. So that's just apprenticeships.gov.uk. On there, you're going to search and apply for loads of different vacancies. They've got like a find an apprenticeship tab on there. You can search in there, keywords. You can search by either industry or like your location. And then you can actually register. Once you've registered, they'll send you through sort of email and text alerts so you can keep up to date with any new vacancies that might go on. And again, you can kind of register what kind of areas interest you on there as well. But I would always say, keep checking back, even sort of 2 or 3 times a week. They do get updated quite regularly with new vacancies. So don't worry if you go on and there's none in the industry that you're like sort of looking to go into. Do just keep checking back and hopefully you'll find something on there. We've also got sort of amazingapprenticeships.com is another really useful website to use. On there you can find a range of different sort of employer fact files. They've got little videos on there of sort of well-known employers, and they'll go through again sort of the different types of apprenticeship vacancies available at different companies and providers. So it's worth having a look on there. There's some really useful resources. But as I say, even if there's a particular employer that you're interested in, you could always, do a little bit of research online on their specific websites, and just keep checking back. If there's not one out there at the minute, it might be that even in the next few days, a few weeks, there might be one that comes up. So I would definitely recommend registering for those text and email alerts, but just keep checking back on as well, and hopefully something will come up. In terms of if you do find something, how it will apply, it is quite similar for most apprenticeships, to be honest. But once you find the advert and the one that you're interested in, obviously you just follow the sort of step-by-step instructions on there. So you just register obviously with the website, follow the instructions. Usually it'll be, fill out either an application form, maybe it's a CV. Generally they'll then sort of shortlist candidates and you might be invited to an interview. And then hopefully after your interview, you would find out kind of either way whether you've been sort of successful in the role. As I say, it can change slightly between different providers, different apprenticeship roles, but generally that's kind of the application process that you would follow. Apprenticeships are quite competitive, so it is worth kind of taking the time to get all the information in, really thinking about the application that you're submitting and preparing for the interview. A lot of companies will only maybe offer one or a selection of apprenticeship roles, so it is really competitive. But if you put the work in and really sort of prepare for your interview, hopefully you'll be successful with a role. And if you're not with one, obviously keep applying, and hopefully you'll kind of get through with the next applications for a different different apprenticeship. But yeah, just keep checking back on the government website for vacancies that come up.
Fab. I think just kind of one more thing, just to kind of add on to that as well. Obviously, with an apprenticeship, it's made up of that employer element, but also the college element as well. So it's also worth having a look on college websites. So I know for us, on our website, we have a whole section dedicated to apprenticeships. So if that's something you were kind of you were looking for and you were unsure of what kind of roles and what courses or subjects would be involved with that, then absolutely have a look on kind of the college website as well. And that will detail on there exactly how the application process for one of those apprenticeships would work too. So that's kind of another way to do it, is having a look kind of through the college themselves. So so that is that then. So I feel like that's been a bit of a whistle stop tour of apprenticeships. If you do want to find out any more information, or kind of you want to revisit anything that we've spoken about today, there will be links in the description of this video, so you can kind of click through to anything that we've mentioned during this chat. So yeah, so that's everything from us. Thanks very much for listening.